Greetings, graduates. I am so honored to speak with you, even if it's remotely from my living room. First, I'd like to congratulate you on your achievements today. I don't want to bury the lead. Folks like me, we've got no idea what it's been like to navigate a pandemic as you finish out your final year at Grady, but you did it. You did it, and you overcame a hell of a lot to get here. When Dean Davis asked me to deliver some words today, I was honored and I was floored because the job as a journalist has certainly changed, but I'm still more comfortable asking the questions rather than answering them. And maybe that's the rub, because you might not realize it now, but no matter what you do, journalism, communication, management, something else entirely different, the skills you've developed here help you evolve as a professional and as a person. Since I graduated from Grady, my career has taken me on bizarre adventures. I've covered high-profile murder trials, witnessed executions, traveled to the remote wilderness of Haiti with a former president, and dined with the future president in New Hampshire. But I want to talk about a place that I've never actually visited. It's a little town in southeastern Iowa called Keokuk. Google tells me it's a town of about 11,000 people named after a Native American chieftain, sandwiched between the Des Moines and Mississippi rivers. It could be any other small town or big city in America. It's a stand-in, but it takes on special meaning because here at Grady, where I learned the trade of journalism, the late great Professor Conrad Fink used to hammer home a lesson. I'm going to do an impression. Never forget the little old lady from Keokuk. It's not very good. But when I'd ask him what he meant, he'd just growl at me. So here's my best guess. And this is one that's really taken years for me to understand. Never forget the people affected by the stories you write, the TV clips you produce, the podcasts you create, the ads you make, the businesses you start. And never has that rung truer than this year, which has challenged us all like no other. Over the last year, we've navigated through once-in-a-century challenges. We've faced life or death decisions, and we found ourselves in mind-numbing arguments about the simplest of facts, whether masks are good, vaccines are preventive, elections are honest. But it also underscored how important our roles are going forward, because our mission is a simple one. It's the truth. That's why journalism is the essential force for good. I have a note file on my phone. It's where I type in reminders of stories, stray thoughts, things like that. It has a lot of advice for myself. Be kind, be respectful, be useful, be present. But one of the most important is from a retired AJC editor named Burt Roten, who once told me this: the way a newspaper shows its love for its community is to tell it the truth. And you need people dedicated who live for going and finding the truth and reporting it back to the rest of us. That's our job, and that's your job, no matter what field you wind up in. This year, I'd argue, has prepared you for this like no other. You've created podcasts, you've put out newspapers from afar, you've strengthened bonds, you've tried new things, and you've spent way too much time on TikTok because my 10-year-old daughter, she tells me that. But look, you should celebrate this. The pandemic didn't wipe out your accomplishments. It didn't wipe out your drive. Or somberly, it reminded us our mortality isn't something we just read about. It brought a new appreciation of simplest things in life, just the wondrous effect of gathering together and enjoying each other's company. And it gave you a new understanding of the value that you can bring. Because if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that so many people in charge, from the corporate leaders to the government officials, they don't have any clue what they're doing. For the last year or so, we've talked about a new normal of living in the pandemic. Now you've got the chance to create a new normal, to forge something better and more exciting and more equal and more just, and to think about what role you can play, blessed with this world-class degree from Grady, as we emerge from the pandemic. Look, it's not easy. I'd be lying if I told you it was a smooth path for me. I wanted to be a journalist from the 4th grade, but even back then I had my doubts. And so did my mom. She told me I had to learn how to type to be a reporter. And that was about all it took back then to convince me otherwise. Fine, I said, I'll be a doctor instead. It's much easier, right? But journalism found me anyways. And so did the terrific professors at UGA, like Conrad Fink and others, who taught me and his other rascals a moral and ethical code we still hope to live by in troubling situations. I still think of WWFD, what would Fink do, regularly. And the professors at UGA also taught me something else, that we aren't faceless soulless robots grinding out stories on a factory line. It taught me that empathy is the most important and powerful thing that you can have as a journalist, as a communicator, as a citizen of the world. You know why? Because in journalism, empathy is when everyone else has left the scene and moved on to the next headline. And you remember the people are more than just their stories, just their sound bites. You remember there is something else so much more important at stake: lives and livelihoods. So be proud of yourselves. Know that you can't control the circumstances you're facing now, but you can control how you respond to them. Be enlightening, not enraging. And don't ever, ever, ever forget that little old lady in Keokuk. Thank you so much for this honor, and congratulations again.